Henry III. He was the King of England from 1216 until 1272. So for over 50 years, for 56 years. He was 9 years old. Then he became the king because his father, John, died unexpectedly from a fever. For the first 11 years of his reign, until he had reached the age of 20, he was reigning through Regents, William the Marshal and Hubert the Burgh. They too also were able to successively rule the country. There was a Magna Carta in which was said that his father, King John, could not just raise taxes as he wanted and change the rule of taxation or the rules of the feudal system. He was forced to sign it in 1215. He didn't accept it, but he died shortly afterwards. Shortly before he had died, the barons who were forcing the king to sign it had called in the help of a Dauphine of France, Louis VIII, to England, who was still there when Henry III was ruling through his regents, William the Marshal and Hubert the Burgh, who were not successfully able to defeat the Dauphine of France, who had already captured the Tower of London, and defeated him in the Battle of Lincoln in May and Dover in August, and drove him out of England. And the Treaty of Latham was made, making peace between the barons, King Henry VIII, and France. William the Marshal died already in 1219, and when later on Henry III had dismissed Hubert the Burgh. And he was marrying Eleanor in 1236, so we know something into his reign, and he appoints 3 uncles of Eleanor of Provence and southern France had he married. He had with her 6 sons and 3 daughters. And he appoints 3 of her uncles as ministers, Peter the Regents, for example, and another Peter. And not everyone liked it. People from France were not ruling in England, and there was already rebellion by William Marshal, which seems to be another person as William the Marshal, who had died. But he defeated that, but that is not the end of the story. He had a sister, also called Eleanor, who was married to Simon de Montfort. And the rivaling with the barons continued. First, another rebellion. Owen Wynne in North Wales rebelled for 11 years with help of France. Now, the other rebellion, later on then, he was forced to sign in 58 the provision of Oxford and 59 the provision of Westminster, which was saying that he could not appoint people to the council, and the council had some powers about what was going on with the barons in the country. And he didn't like it, he repudiated that, and when Simon de Montfort in 63 went to arms, then he went back to the documents. It didn't really work out. In 64, Simon de Montfort rebelled again as the leader of the barons and defeated at the Battle of Loos the army of King Henry III, and Simon de Montfort became for 1 year the de facto ruler of England. Henry III was also the king of Ireland and parts of France and of England. Simon de Montfort was ruling, and he tried to establish his rule. He was inviting in 2 burgesses from each borough and 4 knights from each shire to a very early form of parliament. That didn't lead to all too much at the time. Edward I, the later Edward I, the son of King Henry III, defeated in 1265 Simon de Montfort in the Battle of Evesham. And King Henry III was again ruling for a few years. The book is saying that Edward III was maybe not all too cleverly ruling, and that he was not so, what was easily setting bad terms with friends and with enemies alike easily. But that during his reign, arts flourished, illustrations, writing. Matthew Paris, a historian, drew up the first map of England, and the building of Statesville Cathedral was started, and additions were made to Winchester, to Westminster Abbey. And then he was then followed by Edward I on the throne, and he was then ruling. While he was ruling in 1284, he made the Statute of Rutland. Rutland is a town in England, always, somewhere. And with that, Wales then was declared to be a part of England. And in 1295, Edward I summoned in as well people, burgesses and knights and lords and clergy, to something similar as parliaments. And the development of parliament in Britain continued then. That is according to the history of the kings and queens of England and Scotland on the pages 60 and 61 is the main article. The positions and views expressed are the ones of the source and don't necessarily align with my own or with the ones of the entity spoken of.